This is the Wide Format Impressions broadcast.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Dan Marks. For many businesses, training is like eating right. Everybody agrees it's a good idea, but that knowledge doesn't always translate into action. Today, we're talking about training, whether it's through high schools, colleges, and universities, trade schools, or through sources based within the industry, and explore whether effective training can lead to better company performance. Our first expert, Adrienne Harrison, Vice President HR Consulting at Printing United Alliance, has been helping to address printing's labor challenges head-on, including presenting recruitment strategies, as well as cultures that help companies keep the employees they get. Welcome, Adrienne.
Hi, Dan.
So, based on your experience, does providing effective training lead ultimately to building a stronger company culture?
I think it absolutely does. Culture is really, it's variable, right? But one of the things that builds a strong culture is knowing that your company is investing in you and trusting in you and supporting your career. Training is a direct reflection of that aspect of it. You're making an investment as a company into a worker, and that worker is going to appreciate the time and effort that it takes because, everybody knows it's not free to do training and it isn't anything that's necessarily required. So by doing it, you're communicating a future for that person within the company, which is really helpful. In addition to that, depending on the kind of training, it also reflects, for instance, if it's safety training, it reflects a concern and the importance of safety and keeping people, out of harm's way while they're at work. And that communicates an important message. And then I think also it also communicates to people that we are here to turn out a really good product in the best way possible. We take pride in what we do, and training reflects that pride.
So, in trying to find new employees, to what degree would you say that today's PSPs are engaging students, let's say, coming out of graphic arts programs? Are they coming out equipped to work within today's print industry?
I think the graphic arts programs, there are fewer of them now, and which is, it is what it is, right? We have to work within the boundaries of what we have. And I do think that a lot of them are so multidimensional that it isn't necessarily a print specific graphic arts program. It means a lot of things, but it's also a huge online component and the marriage of the online and the print components, things like that. I don't know if we're fully exploiting the resources there, but I believe so. I believe that there is a really good harmony between the people who run these programs and the print providers who are in the regions and areas. I know a lot of these programs have people that reach out to set up internships for their students, and those generally are all filled. So I think, it's not saying that we can't do better because we can always do better. Awareness is a big problem for our industry, but I do believe that the programs are there and printers have access to those programs. Do utilize that. If you're a printer that's in a region that has a good graphic arts program, you generally are taking advantage of that. Yes.
To what degree then can companies, let's say, offer internships to help establish a pipeline of potential employees, like internships through, let's say, a college or university? And are there other benefits to doing this?
I think internships are super important. Again, we need to create awareness, and awareness is critical to success with student populations from high school through college and technical programs. So, yes, internships are super important. And, imagine somebody goes, they have an internship, they didn't really understand what print is, which is honestly kind of how it always goes, right? Nobody really knows until they step inside and they see the process. Like, wow, mind blown. This is really cool.
Mhm.
And then they come out of that program and they go back to their schools and they tell their other people, wow, that was a really cool experience. We created these cool products and things, and this was awesome. So internships are critical for awareness. They're critical to create a pipeline. And I think you can't just look at internships on the level of college. I think you have to go down to a younger audience and look at high school internships. I think anything after the age of 16 is available because there are some child labor laws and there's some complicating factors for
Mhm.
anybody who's 16 and under. But after that, 17 and 18, so the higher level of high school, you could have an intern program even on the high school level that is quite successful and builds a pipeline. And I know printers that have done.
Okay. And kind of continuing on the workforce development, but I've talked to some owners in the past who say they'd rather hire sort of a blank slate employee and do the training themselves instead of bringing somebody in who has pre-existing knowledge of the industry. What do you think of that approach?
Well, first, I think it's really necessary because I think we don't have enough people with pre-existing knowledge of the industry to fill all the jobs that we have. So we just always have to do that anyway. But I think it's absolutely okay. I've always said this since I entered the industry. The first time I walked into a printing facility and I saw this big web offset print and this big graphic displays and all this stuff, I'm like, kids who are really great at video games would love a job like this. Like, this is a very cool job that utilizes a lot of those same sort of multidimensional, different types of thinking and spatial awareness and just a lot of skills that you would use in a video game environment. So I think it translates really well to a younger audience because the younger audience tends to be more savvy at video games than old fogies that have generationally missed that era. I think that looking for people who don't have printing industry experience or print specific skills is not only okay, but absolutely great. You want somebody, when you're looking for a candidate, you want somebody who is willing to learn, who has a genuine interest in expanding their knowledge base. Like, I didn't know the printing industry and I think it's fantastic. And there's a lot of people just like me that are out there in the world. So I think that, yes, look for somebody who's curious, look for somebody who is willing to learn, look for somebody who can take instruction, and then train them yourself. Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about kind of developing a workforce, but for existing employees, those who are already on the payroll, would you say that training has a connection to job satisfaction, quality, profitability?
Yeah. It does. For one, training again communicates an investment into the employee, into the worker, the team member. And so when you are slogging it away at a job for a long time, sometimes it's like anything that you need to show the love. The love may be there, but it may not be obvious. Training shows the love, right? That's one thing. The second thing is people who have existing positions perhaps are looking at this as a career, not just a job, which is what we want. And so if it's a career, then give them a career pathway to develop their skills and tell them, we are investing in you because we believe you are going to be great in the long term for this role. So you're communicating a couple of things that way. The third thing is that just as far as production goes, cross training and cross skills is super helpful because we do have thin workforces sometimes. It depends on what area you're in, but we can't always fill all the positions. And if somebody calls off sick, we don't have the bench strength to keep going at the same production rates unless we have cross trained and shared skills knowledge between our different employees. So it is going to help your production. It is going to help your quality if you do that. And of course, all of that is going to add to your profitability as a business owner.
Next up is Tony McQuilkin, Senior Editor, Alliance Media Brands, which includes wide format impressions. For the last couple of years, Tony has researched and assembled WFI's Guide to Industry Training and Education. Hello, Tony.
Nice to be here.
So first off, can you describe the annual guide to training and education that you put together for wide format impressions?
Sure. So I go through and take a look at all of the resources that are available to people in our industry. It includes associations, and yes, Printing United is on that list with iLearning, but there's also all of the other industry associations. And so I try to pull together all of the links to their education platforms, all of the OEM trainings. I go through all of the universities and high schools that I can find. I even try and include scholarships, especially for wide format. There are a lot of RAP schools. So no matter kind of where you land in the wide format industry, it's meant to provide a place where you can go to see where you can get more training, where you can get more education, where you can even get help affording some of those things if you want to either enter the wide format industry or, kind of get some continuing education.
Now, putting that guide together, was there either a surprise or a realization you had in that process?
It's funny. I was thinking about this and I was surprised both at how many and how few at the same time there were of colleges, universities, high schools. On the one hand, there's still quite a few of them out there, and that was surprising in a good way that there are still some programs out there, and it's not just like one, that there are still schools that are offering trade programs that include graphic arts. On the other hand, I was disheartened by how few there were, especially dedicated programs. Most of what's out there are like they're a broader type of program that includes a lot of different trades, and maybe print is a small portion of it. And I
Mhm.
included them because that is print training. But there aren't, there used to be so many trade programs, and print was such an integral part of, especially on the high school level. And there just really aren't that many of them out there anymore. Schools have gotten rid of not just print, but all trade training in general. And so that was a little disheartening.
Yeah, I know the general assumption people have is that most of the programs teaching the graphic arts have shuttered themselves, but there is still a lot out there for those who need to seek it. Now, based on what you see out there, and really talking about the sort of secondary school and college programs offered, do you think they address kind of the whole industry, the whole of the printing industry, or just part of it? Are they all a little too commercial printing focused, or is wide format part of it?
Wide format is part of it in a lot of cases, but it tends to be a little bit of a mixed bag. Some programs are very focused on packaging or on, obviously graphic design is a big one. And I tried not to include programs that are just graphic design, that they
Mhm.
had to have some sort of printing involved. Wide format is actually a big part of it. You see screen printing a lot. There's still quite a few screen printing programs out there, which is part of our industry. Wide format printers also tend to be less expensive than a big offset commercial press. So you see a lot of programs that can afford a wide format printer. And so they add that to their trade program because that's the machine they can afford. And so that's the machine they train on. So in that regard, we're kind of lucky, especially on some of the continuing education programs that, maybe are offered to people who don't want to get a degree, but they're looking to build up some skills and some certifications. Wide format is in some and not in others. So it really is one of those things that you just kind of have to sit down and go through the programs and see which ones are right for you.
And what would you tell companies that are struggling to find good employees, but really have not taken the step to reach out to schools in their area or see who has a program that they could maybe draw from? And how could they better use those resources and also the guide that you've put together?
They are missing out on a massive pool of people. Beyond just this guide, I have found that when students are exposed, when I've interviewed students for some articles in the past, and universally, one of the first things they say is, I didn't even know anything about the print industry. I just thought it was newspapers and print was dead. But when I started to learn about everything that print involves and how varied and how vibrant this industry is, I'm hooked. I want in. I want to be part of it. I want to learn more. So for companies out there, call your local high school. Even if they don't have a program, I can almost guarantee you that if you call the local guidance counselors and say, "Hey, we want to put together a program. We want to offer once or twice a year. Let's bring your seniors in or your juniors in to come tour our plant and let us, teach them a little bit about print and what job opportunities we have." You're probably going to get a steady stream of some really great employees. Now, will they necessarily be long-term forever employees? Some will, some won't, but you'll be creating this stream of exposing people to the print industry who then talk to their friends, who then talk to their friends. And, hey, I got to go to this really cool print shop and see all these really cool things. Now you're just exposing our industry to people who are the next generation and just don't know we're here.
I will say at the Printing United Expo, which took place last month, I got to spend just a little bit of time with some of the students who were there for Student Day and was really impressed how interested and how committed they were to what they were doing. They were taking that visit very seriously, and I just think it bodes well for the future of the workforce.
Printing United Alliance is the leading member-based printing and graphic arts association in North America with over 70 years of history and more than 20,000 members worldwide. We're here to support printing professionals like you with the tools, resources, and information you need to grow your business, sharpen your skills, and expand your network. Whether you're a printer, supplier, student, or educator, we've built our community to serve everyone who's passionate about the future of print. An Alliance membership is a smart, cost-effective way to stay current on the latest trends, connect with industry leaders, and give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Head over to printing.org/membership to learn more about the memberships we offer. Let's move the printing industry forward together.
So among the sort of, let's call it industry-based training, which would include iLearning Plus, which is from Printing United Alliance, and other training programs, and even OEM-based trainings, what do you see as the pros and cons of those types of programs?
So pros is that a lot of them are very flexible, especially you look at something like iLearning Plus, that it's online, which means that you can do it on your own time. You can do it in your own space. As a printer, you can carve out time, have a workstation set up in a quiet office and tell everybody, look, we're going to give everybody an hour a day, even a half an hour a day of paid time that you can go in and work on a course, work on continuing education. It makes a way that you can work it into any shift because you've got a dedicated space set aside that they can come do on their own time. Some people learn better first thing. Maybe they come in a half an hour before their shift starts. Some people do it better during their lunch break. Maybe they take a half an hour longer during the middle of the day. So it really gives you flexibility to meet people where they are and make learning fun and enjoyable. Some of the cons is that it can be isolating. I mean, there is something to be said for in-person education at things like the expo and the education sessions, where you can sit there and be face to face with the presenter and ask questions and interact with other people in the audience and bounce those ideas around. That there's learning there that can be had that you can't get when you're just staring at a screen, just kind of going through clicking the buttons. Ideally, in a perfect world, it would be a mix of both. You would do kind of the online version to get the basics and the foundations, and then maybe once a year, once a quarter, have some sort of in-person event or allow people to go to training and say, like Printing United Expo, maybe that you rotate out that certain number of staff can go every year to events like that to get some of that in-person hands-on training.
Now, some of the OEM-based training programs, I've seen some that are quite robust, but do you get the sense that they tend to be a little non-agnostic, meaning they really kind of point in the direction of a specific type of materials or type of technologies?
They tend to be fairly focused on whatever their specific is. So whether it's their specific machine or the specific, segment of the industry they're serving, most of them are fairly targeted, which makes sense because at the end of the day, they're an equipment manufacturer who wants to sell equipment. That said, I have found that most of them are willing to kind of go off script. So if you've got somebody coming in to train on a specific machine, these people are super knowledgeable. And a lot of times if they're asked, they're more than willing to have those discussions and give some kind of informal, generic type of information rather than just machine specific.
Our final expert is Joe Marin, Senior Vice President, Member Services at Printing United Alliance. Joe has long been involved in industry training, and I would call him the force behind the development and success of the Alliance's online training program, iLearning Plus. In the years you've spent addressing training in the graphic arts industry, what do you think are the keys to making it effective?
Yeah, after doing this for a long time, I think the real key here is just meeting people where they are. Our industry brings in everyone. Some are brand new to print, and some have very deep experience in the industry. And they need to just sharpen their skills. And then there's sort of everybody in between. So training isn't really one size fits all. So it has to be practical. It's got to be easy to access. And, the most important thing is really tying it to real problems faced in our industry every day, because if someone can walk back to their shop and use something immediately, they'll buy into it. And then another big one is really keeping it current. Our industry moves really, really quickly. If the training doesn't reflect where people are in the industry today, they're going to tune out. So relevance, accessibility, and the clear, here's how this can help you right now, today, takeaways. That's really what makes good training stick.
Now, let's talk a little bit about iLearning Plus, which is Printing United Alliance's online training program. What makes that program different from other training programs available on the market?
Yeah, a lot of the training out there is generic. It's not wrong. It's just that it's not built for the realities of our industry. So iLearning Plus is really different because everything that we build in the platform is very print centric and print specific and industry specific. Our trainers are people who've run shops, done color management, worked in pre-press, managed customers, or handled OSHA and EHS requirements. So it's built around how printers actually work. That's the short windows of time, the complexity of our industry, and all the new tech that's hitting the industry as well. In iLearning Plus, we cover the full ecosystem. Print fundamentals, color, wide format, packaging, safety, HR. I could go on and on, but I won't. And companies can actually license our courses if they choose to in their own LMS, which a lot of companies have done that, which has been a huge advantage for the larger organizations, the larger printing companies who want everything under one roof, their roof. So the short answer really is it's practical, it's industry specific, and it's built by people that understand the day-to-day effects of our business.
How would you answer to a statement that I've heard more than once that if you invest in training for an employee, that person might take that knowledge and get a job somewhere else? And I guess I would
Yeah.
say the same question with like certifications.
Yeah, I've heard this for years. And honestly, not training your staff is a way bigger risk. If you don't invest in people, they're going to leave anyway. And they'll leave because they feel stuck. And all the research that's been done on this backs this up. Number one reason why people don't stay isn't because there's free snacks or ping pong tables or that kind of thing.
Right.
There's really opportunities to grow. And when you invest in someone, you're really showing them they matter and they matter to the company. And trained employees, they do better work. They make less mistakes and all that benefits the company. That all hits the bottom line. And then as far as certifications, they don't create turnover. They build confidence. I've seen companies use certifications and what's learned in them to identify like who the future leaders are in the company. So my answer is training doesn't make people leave their company. It's the lack of training that will make them leave.
Now, it's well known that there are sort of different kinds of learners out there. How should effective training address those learning differences? And when do you think that hands-on training becomes really the only essential step?
People learn in all the different ways. I know I'm very visual. I like to see how things are done. Some people like to watch, some people like to listen, some like to click through examples or follow along. So our approach mixes these formats. We've got video, we've got visuals, we've got examples, we have quizzes, scenarios, interactivity. With some courses, you're actually downloading sample files and following along with the instructor. So someone can take these courses with the mix, and we feel like we're covering the breadth and depth of how people learn. Now, hands-on becomes really essential when you're dealing with our industry, right? And mechanical processes, things like T7 plus implementation or running a piece of equipment, or, if you're an installer, there's a point where you need hands-on the equipment. But the nice thing about e-learning and iLearning Plus is we can build that foundation first, right? You're not walking into training cold. You're already familiar with the concepts, the unique vocabulary that we have in our industry.
Sure.
Workflow. If you're seeing all that for the first time and you're learning how to use a piece of equipment, it's really overwhelming. Having that foundation is a much better way to on-ramp employees that are learning something new or a new piece of equipment or a new process.
Now, I'm aware that iLearning Plus launches new training modules on a sort of a regular cadence and also revised modules to keep them up to date. So what's new recently from iLearning Plus?
Yeah, we've been busy. We just rolled out 4 new courses that hit different parts of the industry. The first one is AI for image creators. This one's great for creatives and pre-press. It really breaks down how tools like Photoshop's AI features and Bang and Midjourney and all those tools can actually fit into print production workflows and design workflows and work practically, right?
Mhm.
We also have a workplace impairment course This one was developed by Adrian Harrison to help supervisors and managers recognize and respond to impairment in the workplace. That's a big one for safety and compliance. Another course, Print Meets AI, Simple Tools for Smarter Work. So this is more of a let's demystify AI type of a course. It shows printers how to use tools like ChatGPT for everyday tasks. I think a lot of printers get hung up on, I've got this AI, this AI is out there. How do I use it to automate everything in my company from a production standpoint, when the reality is where you can make the greatest impact is at the individual level, right? CSRs and salespeople and so on. There are great examples in there on how you can leverage AI with your day-to-day work to become more efficient. And then we've got the complete guide to heat printing. This one's a deep dive for decorators. So it's a nice mix. And we've got more coming in the spring. And yeah, to your point, we release new courses and certifications in the spring and in the fall.
For our final question, I asked each of our panelists if they think there is a link between the quality of training given and how likely a person is to establish a career in the printing industry. Tony McQuilkin.
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite examples is Image Options is, a company in California, a wide format printer. They are probably my gold star shining example of training done right. They have partnered with their local college. They bring in a few interns every year, and these interns don't come into a specific department. They actually are rotated and spend a few weeks in every department in the entire company. I got to interview a couple of them earlier this year. A couple of young women who had, again, they didn't even know print existed until this opportunity. And one of them said that she never knew how much she loved welding until she had rotated through the welding department. And now she was interested in perhaps pursuing a career in that. And the other was interested in learning more about the sales side of things because it wasn't something she'd ever been exposed to. And now print sales had become a passion for her and she wanted to learn more, and both became full-time employees and are excited about their future and their career in the industry. It made them passionate about what print can produce.
Adrian Harrison.
I don't have any data on this, and I don't have much to go on other than anecdotal information. But if somebody is a good trainer, so if you're doing in-training person, or if you do online training, like our iLearning Plus or some type of online training, if that training is engaging, if it can create an excitement, not just, rattle off the do this, do that, check this box, check that box, now you're done with this module of training. If you can create an excitement about being good at your job, about achieving excellence in learning, then yes, you are going to have a higher link between people who want to make this a career versus people who are just going through the motions. As a company owner, as an HR professional, as a manager or a supervisor of people, of workers, you have to keep your team on it. You have to show them that this is still a cool thing, like every other thing in the world. It's like being married to the most beautiful person in the world. After a little while, they just look regular to you, right? The allure has dissipated. In the case of your career, it's the same thing. You need to spark that enthusiasm, and good training can do that.
Joe Marin.
Quality training is really one of the biggest factors in whether someone stays in this industry or not. Common scenario. If a new employee walks into a shop and told to follow Bill or Sally around and just do what they do and is told good luck, they're not going to feel confident or connected to what they're doing or the industry. But when someone gets clear, modern, easy to follow training before they're put into production, they start to get it. They understand how their work affects the bigger picture. So we see this especially with the younger workers. They want skills, they want to grow, they want to see a path. So yeah, the better the training is, the stronger the chances to turn that job into a career.
A hearty thank you to my panelists for contributing their thoughts and opinions to this discussion. And thank you for joining us on the broadcast.
You've been listening to the Wide Format Impressions broadcast. You can find more great content at wideformatimpressions.com.